Ukraine, and a White House meeting with their new leader was withheld at President Trump's direction until Ukraine committed to investigating the Bidens and the 2016 election. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jim Himes, who is on the Intelligence Committee and heard Ambassador Taylor's testimony. You were asked yesterday, Congressman, if your jaw was still on the floor after hearing that, and you responded, still there. What do you mean?
Well, John, it was pretty startling testimony. You know, when the ambassador got done with his open statement, which is now public, so we can talk about it under the rules, you could hear a pin drop in the room. It was some of the most detailed, specific testimony. It wasn't some of the most, it was the most detailed and specific testimony we have heard in these many depositions about the holding up of military aid, and not just military aid, but a meeting in the White House. That line still resonates with me. It's in the opening statement where the ambassador says that, Ambassador Sondland says that everything is contingent. I know we're having this long conversation about what the definition of a quid pro quo is, but there's no question from his testimony that everything, in the words of Ambassador Sondland, are contingent on the Ukrainians agreeing to go after Burisma, agreeing to go after Biden, and all the other sordid things that they've asked for.
It's interesting because just over the last 20 minutes or so, there has been yet a new defense from the president and his allies. We had former Congressman Sean Duffy on just a few minutes ago, and he said if the Ukrainians didn't know that the military aid was being withheld, it can't be a quid pro quo. And the president himself just tweeted out the same notion. So they're no longer saying that all these asks and demands and threats weren't there, just that somehow the Ukrainians didn't know about it. What do you make of that defense?
Well, first of all, like so much of this stuff, it's just plain factually wrong, right? Ambassador Taylor yesterday testifies that in his opening statement, again public for people to review, testifies that the Ukrainians figured out, largely because of a Politico article at the end of August, that it was being withheld, that the military aid was being withheld. Okay, the military aid is restored, I think, on September 10th, September 11th. So there's a nearly 2-week period in which they've read in Politico that it's being withheld. Ambassador Taylor and others are embarrassed as all get out because they can't explain this, but the Ukrainians know. So number one, that defense is just plain factually wrong. Secondly, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, you just need to read the transcript to know that what the Ukrainians are receiving, even if they're not getting a contract, you know, sign at the dotted line, do the investigation of Joe Biden, and we'll send you your aid. You know, you just need to read the transcript of what the president said on the July 26th phone call. Do us a favor, though. You know, we've helped you out a lot, and it hasn't been a symmetrical relationship. Again, you know, I understand what the Republicans are doing. They're trying to defend the indefensible. And one of the remarkable things here, John, is that this is not stuff that Democrats are coming by. This is very senior-level people in the administration, in the State Department, coming forward and publicly speaking about what happened. So, look, the Republicans are trying to defend the indefensible, which, of course, is why we're hearing so much about process as well.
You heard all of the testimony from William Taylor. All we have seen is this 15-page opening statement. Did the rest of it go into deeper detail? Were there questions that somehow called into question some of the things he was saying? Did it come off as better or worse, do you think, as you heard more?
Yeah, John, I can't get into the specifics of what happened behind closed doors, but I can tell you that that opening statement really was what dominated the rest of the day. There was a lot of, you know, well, did this happen here or on that date, or, you know, a lot of sort of filling in the details. But that opening statement really was what determined the course of the day.
When do you think that the American people will see the transcript of the full testimony?
Well, and this, of course, is a cause of some controversy here in the Capitol. So the process here is we need to make sure that there's no classified information in any of the transcripts. The witnesses have the right to review the transcript, and they're coming in and they're doing that. At that point, there's nothing blocking their release. Chairman Schiff has said that they will be made public. I believe they will be. Chairman Schiff has also said that there will be open hearings starting relatively soon. Again, you need to remember, John, that we're doing an investigation here. It's equivalent to what Special Prosecutor Starr did. Special Prosecutor Starr convened a grand jury. He did all kinds of investigation. behind closed doors. That's important. Investigations happen behind closed doors. And he presented a report to Congress. That's the equivalent of where we are today. But you can expect open hearings. You can expect to see those transcripts relatively soon.
Do we need to hear from Ambassador Taylor in public? Do the American people deserve to hear from him out loud?
I think it's important that the American people hear from people like Taylor, from people like Anita Hill, others who were actually in the room when these things. Sorry, Fiona Hill, early in the morning. Before, yes, I believe they need to hear that. Now, I don't want to get too out in front of the committee, but I think that's Americans need to understand exactly what happened. And as we learned in the Mueller report, reading page 197 doesn't convey the same sort of attention that actually live testimony conveys.
All right, Congressman Jim Himes, we do appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
All right, John, President Trump's new